I haven't made a video like this where I recreate recipes from different countries in a very long time. And so every day last week I picked a random and new to me recipe to try and replicate to the best of my abilities. Also this time I tried to actually stick to the more traditional recipes and not switch up too many things, which normally I love doing. Although there is of course a certain level of improvising that needs to be done when you want these recipes to be fully vegan for the most part. And so yeah, I'm not claiming these recipes to be 100% authentic, but you can let me know in the comments how well I did on that front. Also, every single food blog that I took inspiration and recipes from will be linked down below in the description. Please check out those people. Yes. Last but not least, thank you to Squarespace for supporting my channel. And now let's get into the recipes. On Tuesday, I wanted something quick and easy for breakfast. And so here I opted for this Middle Eastern dish called Fatteh. I'm already apologizing for all the pronouncing I will be doing in this video. It often comes with pita or pita chips, chickpeas, and some kind of yogurt sauce. So many different versions of this dish exist though. Judging from my brief internet research, I think I ended up making it the more Syrian way. Correct me if I'm wrong. In a medium-sized pot, I first placed a can of chickpeas, including the chickpea liquid and everything, which felt very non-intuitive. I also then added some extra tap water, some cumin, some salt, and some roughly chopped garlic. Next, I brought this up to a boil and let everything simmer for about 15 minutes over medium until the liquid is mostly absorbed by the chickpeas. As this was cooking, I made this incredibly yummy yogurt sauce by combining some plain soy yogurt, some tahini, lots of lemon juice, salt, and pepper, and also one finely chopped clove of garlic. Now for the third and final component, pita, which in my case isn't a real pita, but a leftover durum wrap that I found in my fridge, but it puffed up almost exactly like a real pita here. In that same pan, I also toasted up some pine nuts for just 2 minutes. Be careful, they burn really fast. And then I brought everything together. The cooked chickpeas specifically remind me of something that my uncle's second ex-wife used to cook for me when I lived with them for a brief period of time a couple years ago. But she would always use dried chickpeas and boil them for hours and hours with a bunch of garlic and cumin. But of course, using the canned will save you so much time. But yeah, this was unbelievably delicious. Please try it. Moving on to Wednesday's recipe, which was for these adorable Japanese red bean bread buns called Anpan, but I gave them a bit of a coconut twist. In a medium saucepan, place half a cup of coconut milk and the sugar. Mix and heat this mixture up until the sugar has dissolved. Then in your mixing bowl, place another half a cup of coconut milk. This time, it should be cold to room temperature. And then you add the now sweetened warm coconut milk to that. Test with a thermometer to see if this mixture is just warm enough for the yeast to develop nicely. Because in the next step, you're gonna sprinkle over some dry active yeast and let that sit for about 5 minutes or until nice and frothy. Okay, make sure your yeast is not dead before adding the flour and salt to it, and then mix everything vigorously with a wooden spoon. Transfer the dough to a floured surface and knead everything with your hands for about 5 minutes. Here I would highly recommend using lightly oiled hands because that's what keeps the dough from sticking to you as much. After about 5 minutes of kneading, the dough should look something like this, and then place it into a lightly oiled bowl. Cover it with a dish towel or some aluminum foil in my case, and let it rest someplace warm for about 2 hours. Knead the dough one more time for just a few seconds, and then cut it into 8 equally sized pieces. Each one you're gonna roll into a little ball or disc and place directly onto a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper. Next, you're gonna need sweetened red bean paste. Add roughly 1 heaping teaspoon per bun. And now carefully fold the dough over the filling and then pinch it together. And then place the rolled bun back onto the baking sheet, seam side facing down. Last but not least, I would highly recommend you to brush every bun with some coconut milk. Allow the buns to bake until they're nice and golden brown and all the way baked through. You can pretty much serve these right away. Maybe wait like a few minutes until they're not piping hot anymore. I served mine next to some iced hochicha. This was actually my first time ever making this drink. It was really nice and it fits super, super nicely with the coconut and red bean flavor. You can super easily freeze the buns, by the way. And then you would ideally revive them by pouring over a little bit of coconut milk and then allowing that to sit in the oven at 150 degrees Celsius for about 8 to 10 minutes. Oh, and to stay on Japan theme, that night me and my friends made sushi and we filled it with cucumber, avocado, carrot, and fried smoked tofu sticks. I am very proud of these cinnamon rolls that I made for Thursday. So this is a vegan version of Swedish Kanelbullar. Don't be intimidated by their shape though. They're a lot easier to make than you might think. Grab a medium pot and add 1/3 cup of the plant milk, some sugar, and vegan butter. Heat up everything until the butter is melted and then transfer to a large mixing bowl. Next, add the remaining 2/3 cup of milk. Now make sure that the temperature once again is at a nice 40 degrees Celsius.
Still a little too hot.
And then you sprinkle over the dry active yeast and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes or until the yeast starts creating little bubbles. Last but not least, add the dry ingredients, flour, salt, and lots of cinnamon. And then once everything is roughly combined, transfer the dough to a lightly floured surface and knead with your hands for about 5 minutes. Again, I would highly recommend to use greased, oiled hands and add a bit more flour here and there if necessary. And once you're happy with the dough, transfer it to a greased mixing bowl, or in my case, a casserole dish. Now once you're ready to assemble the rolls, prepare the filling. For that, you're simply going to combine vegan butter at room temperature, brown sugar, vanilla, so much cinnamon, and if you want a few other cozy spices, I did tonka bean paste, dried cloves, and ginger. I would have loved to add cardamom as well, but I could not find the cardamom anywhere. I definitely need a bigger bowl here, and also the whisk is not the right move either.
No, just mix it with a spoon. Yeah, because otherwise all the filling gets stuck inside the whisk.
A moment of silence for how beautiful this dough looks. Knead the dough one last time and roll it into a large rectangle. You might have to use a bit of pressure here, but be careful that nothing sticks to the surface. Once it's nice and flat, add the filling and spread it out evenly. Now fold in one side 1/3 of the way, and then you fold in the other side, like so. Now transfer the sheet of dough to a large cutting board. I went over with the rolling pin one more time here. And now cut this into strips. I would say each one's around 2 to 2 1/2 centimeters wide. Now it's time to create the knots or buns. I will link the tutorial I used in the description, but here's how I understood it.
So we're gonna stretch it first, and then once, twice. On the third time you go over and try to tuck it under without everything sticking to your hands. Right?
I would highly recommend to brush the shaped buns with some coconut milk or oat milk. Feel free to also sprinkle over some sugar pearls. Allow the buns to rest here for another 10 to 15 minutes or however long it takes for your oven to preheat to 180 degrees Celsius. And then bake these guys for around 15 to 18 minutes. Yeah, these are insane. They taste like they're straight from a bakery. I made so many and I took all of these with me to the park. It was 1st of May. Yeah, so much fun. On Saturday morning, I went to the Latin food store to pick up some green salsa. Oh, and some of this spicy Mexican tamarind candy, which I'm a little bit obsessed with. You might have noticed I skipped Friday here because all I did Friday was recover from the May 1st festivities. Anyway, the green salsa is for making Chilaquiles Verdes, this really yummy Mexican tortilla-based breakfast dish. First, you preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Grab a stack of corn tortillas, which you're then gonna cut into quarters or eighths or sixths, and then you lay them all out on the baking sheet. Brush them with a bit of vegetable oil and sprinkle with a bit of salt. So as this was baking, I put together the yummiest ever cilantro sauce. Just add all the ingredients to a small blender. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm only doing 1 clove of garlic instead of 3. Yeah, feel free to do a lot more. This sauce could function as the most amazing salad dressing. On to assembling. Add a few tablespoons of the green salsa to the still hot tortilla chips. Cover a serving of the in salsa coated chips with some of the green cilantro sauce, and then add some more toppings of your choosing. Oftentimes, chilaquiles is served with some kind of crumbly, salty cheese. I don't think Germany has very accurate plant-based Mexican cheese replicas, so I did go with Vegan Feta here. I hope that's okay. That evening, I made sure to let some black sticky rice soak in water overnight. Because on Sunday, I wanted to make bubur ketan hitam, Indonesian black rice porridge. Although the rice that I used was Thai, actually, so I guess this recipe could be Thai as well. First, you thoroughly wash the soaked rice. And then you transfer it to a large soup pot together with 1 liter of the water and salt. Then I brought that up to a quick boil. Meanwhile, I'm getting some of these frozen pandan leaves out of their packaging. You should be able to find them in the frozen section of any well-stocked Asian supermarket. Allow everything to simmer for a good hour. Yes. Mix frequently and make sure to add the remaining water gradually as needed. So as soon as the rice starts becoming nice and soft, you remove the leaves and instead add in some sugar and a bit of coconut milk. And then you're gonna give this another 15 minutes or so, or until you're happy with the texture. And then I'm topping and decorating everything with coconut milk and some frozen mango, which goes so nicely with the rice pudding. I was craving mango and sticky rice the other day. Genuinely, this is some of the best rice pudding I've ever had. Takes ages to cook, but it's worth it. since I posted my previous video, quite a few of you have been asking me to cook some Tunisian dishes, and I think I would like to dedicate a whole video on that at some point. But as a brief disclaimer, my own personal knowledge on Tunisian culture is sadly very limited. Despite my dad being from there, I sadly didn't grow up with a lot of Arab culture. Like, I wasn't taught the language, and unfortunately don't have a lot of ties to my relatives from there. The one Tunisian thing I did grow up with though is harissa paste, to be more specific. Anytime my dad visits, he brings absurd amounts of this stuff with him, and he personally eats this with olive oil, baguette, and he would sometimes also have dates and olives on the side, plus some herbal tea or black coffee. So I'm not sure if this is a typical Tunisian breakfast or snack, or if this is just hyper specific to my family. I got a little tooth gem installed yesterday, so now I'm like hyper aware of how I'm eating. I did hear that the first week is gonna be hell. Like, it is very similar to getting braces again, which is funny because I used to hate my braces as a kid. It should be fine. I'm just like so scared of like accidentally swallowing it, you know? Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know if you've noticed, but I changed my profile photo. Doing that on YouTube specifically always feels like such a big step, so I've been a little nervous about that, but I hope you like it. And last but not least, here's a word from my lovely sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace makes it really easy to create a beautiful website, connect to your audience, share your art, sell your products, sell your content, and more. Start by choosing from their wide range of professionally designed website templates to get started, or build your site from scratch if you prefer. Also, create a new logo while you're at it. Have your website quickly get discovered with their optimized SEO tools, meaning you will show up more often in people's search engines, and therefore grow your brand and business the way you want. If you need extra help, don't hesitate to ask their 24/7 award-winning customer service. Start today. Go to squarespace.com/MinaRome and use the code MinaRome to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
It's a sign that the freckles in our